Before sunrise on September 14, 2016, smoke was rising from Acorn Woods Park near Grapevine Lake. At first, it looked like a small fire, the kind park workers might expect from trash or a careless camper. But when firefighters and police reached the scene, they stopped cold. The fire was coming from a plastic kiddie pool sitting near the lake, and inside it was a body. Whoever had done this had tried to destroy everything. The remains were burned so badly that investigators could not even tell who the victim was at first glance. But the fire had missed one thing. Part of one hand survived long enough for investigators to pull fingerprints, and those fingerprints led them to a 24-year-old woman named Jackie Vandagriff. But while investigators were trying to rebuild Jackie's final hours piece by piece, another woman sitting hundreds of miles away in Texas was already terrified for her life because her ex-boyfriend had been stalking her for months. He had already been arrested multiple times. He kept showing up where he was not supposed to be. He refused to let go, and within days, detectives investigating Jackie's murder began asking a question that changed the entire direction of the case. Was Jackie Vandagriff the intended target that night? Or had she unknowingly crossed paths with a man who had already been labeled trouble long before the two of them ever met? But before we begin, if you find this video interesting, please give it a like at the end and tell me what you think about the case. It really helps the channel. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And don't forget to subscribe for more. Jackie Vandagriff was born on March 4th, 1992, and from the beginning, her family said she was almost impossible to slow down. She grew up in the Carrollton, the Colony, and Frisco area of Texas with her parents, Sonia and Ricky, and her sister Jenny. Her family used to joke that she was doing somersaults before she fully learned how to walk, and honestly, that did not seem far from the truth. She had so much energy as a kid that gymnastics became the perfect outlet for her. So she trained, competed, and spent years throwing herself into routines that demanded balance, discipline, and fearlessness. But even with all that energy, Jackie also had this goofy side to her that people never forgot. She was obsessed with Thomas the Tank Engine when she was younger, and her family talked about it like it became part of her identity for a while. As she got older, Jackie attended Texas Woman's University and studied nutrition and food science because she genuinely cared about health and wellness. She wanted to work in corporate wellness programs one day, and the people around her said she was always interested in things connected to skincare, health, beauty, and self-improvement. At the same time, she also attended Paul Mitchell schools and became a licensed esthetician. So her interests kept overlapping in that same world of wellness and personal care. Then there was the version of Jackie people saw online. Years later, investigators and viewers would end up watching old videos she had uploaded, and those clips became difficult to forget.
Hello everyone, my name is Caitlin Vandagriff, but friends call me Jackie. I am originally from the Colony, Texas, but I moved to Frisco when I was in elementary school, and I graduated from Wakeland High School. I am currently a junior here at Texas Women's University, and my major is nutrition with an emphasis in wellness. As far as my career aspirations go, right now I'm most interested in corporate wellness. I think more and more companies are starting to recognize the need to provide health resources for their employees. So I think right now that's where I'm wanting to go with my career. In this class, I hope to learn more about how to use the resources available to reach different individuals and to communicate effectively with the amount of diversity that we have in our community, as well as just building on my overall communication skills.
Then there were her beauty and skincare videos. In one Ulta haul video, Jackie excitedly showed products she had bought, talking casually to the camera like she was on FaceTime with a friend. By the fall of 2016, Jackie was 24 years old and in her junior year at Texas Woman's University. But on the night of September 13th, 2016, Jackie decided to go out to a bar in Denton, and that decision placed her in the same room as a man named Charles Bryant. But before Jackie ever met Charles Bryant, most people did not see him as dangerous at first. They saw the version he wanted them to see. He was 29 years old, muscular, tattooed, and used to being noticed when he walked into a room. He worked around nightlife, he bartended, he taught fitness classes, and he moved through bars with the confidence of someone who knew exactly how to get attention. To people who only met him briefly, Charles could look social, charming, and self-assured. He had the kind of appearance that made him stand out quickly, especially to younger women who were still figuring out what confidence looked like and what control could disguise itself as. And that was part of the problem, because the first impression did not show the pattern underneath it. Before Jackie became part of this story, there was another young woman in Texas named Caitlin Mathis. She was 18 years old, recently out of high school, and she met Charles while she was working as a server. At that point, Charles was 29, which meant there was already a large gap in life experience between them. But at first, Caitlin did not see it that way. She saw an older guy who seemed confident, fit, social, and different from the boys her own age. And at the beginning, that attention probably felt flattering. So Caitlin was drawn in, and for a short time, the relationship looked like something exciting.
The day that I met him was the day after I graduated high school. He had lots of muscles and tattoos, which kind of interested me at the time.
But then the charm started to fade and the confidence began to feel like control. Charles wanted control over how Caitlin saw herself, who she spoke to, where she went, and what she believed she deserved. And the people closest to Caitlin started to see it. Her mother, Karen Halsey, saw a picture of Charles, and something about him unsettled her immediately. And Karen told her daughter, "He's going to hurt you."
Got this feeling just deep inside to my bones, an evil feeling. And I said, "He's going to hurt you. He's going to do something bad." And she's like, "Oh, he's nice. He's good to me. He makes me feel like an adult."
Then the relationship deteriorated. Caitlin began pulling away, and Charles did not handle that like someone who respected boundaries. Eventually, Caitlin decided she was done. But the very next day, after Caitlin ended things, Charles showed up at her mother's house. He was able to convince Caitlin to reconcile with him. That happens more often in controlling relationships than people realize. The person apologizes, promises things will change, says the right words, and for a moment, the hope of things calming down pulls someone back in. But the second attempt did not last long. Caitlin left him again after a week. And this time, she meant permanently. And that is when the behavior shifted from controlling to genuinely frightening. Not long after the breakup, Charles suddenly appeared at Caitlin's dorm at the University of North Texas. And what made that moment so disturbing was the fact that Caitlin had never given him the address. She never told him where she lived. So when he appeared there unexpectedly, Caitlin immediately wanted to know how he found her. And Charles supposedly told her he found the dorm because her name was written on the door. That explanation did not make the situation feel better. It made it worse. Because now Caitlin was dealing with someone who was actively searching for her after she had already tried to leave him. He was showing up uninvited, locating places she never shared with him, and behaving as if boundaries simply did not apply to him. At UNT, one of the people who immediately recognized how serious this was happened to be campus officer Jeremy Polk. And this part matters because sometimes stalking cases get minimized early on. People call it drama, obsession, and a messy breakup. But Jeremy Polk did not react that way. He took the situation seriously almost immediately because the pattern Charles was building was already alarming. So eventually, a no trespass order was put into place. But Charles ignored it. And once someone ignores a legal order that directly tells them to stay away, the situation changes emotionally for the victim because now it is no longer just about unwanted contact. It becomes the realization that even official consequences may not stop the person. Then came the Buffalo Wild Wings incident just a week later, on August 31st. Caitlin had started working there, and one day Charles showed up asking specifically for her section. Employees later learned he had apparently come by the previous day asking about her too. So now there was a new layer added to the stalking, and eventually Caitlin quit the job because she no longer felt secure there. But Charles kept escalating. There were flowers, emails, fake social media accounts used to message her, repeated appearances, and constant attempts to force himself back into her attention no matter how clearly she tried to shut the door. Then, one of the most terrifying moments happened. At one point, Caitlin became so frightened that she hid inside a closet while whispering to police on the phone. And while she was hiding there, Charles was outside searching for her. Then she heard him say, "Caitlin, I know you're in there." That line alone tells you how far this situation has already gone. Because by then, this was no longer about heartbreak or jealousy. This was about control. It was about intimidation. So the arrests started coming, and then protective orders. And if you look at the timeline now, it feels like the warning signs were flashing everywhere. Multiple incidents, multiple reports, and multiple encounters with law enforcement. People around Caitlin recognized that this man was escalating and becoming more unpredictable. But by September 13th, 2016, Charles Bryant was still free. And that same night, 24-year-old Jackie Vandagriff walked into Fry Street Public House in Denton. However, nothing about the place suggested that within hours, detectives would be pulling surveillance footage from inside it, trying to piece together the final movements of a murder victim. It was not some wild nightclub scene. It was a regular college area bar near the University of North Texas where students and locals drifted in and out throughout the night. People drank, talked, flirted, moved between bars, and stayed out later than they planned. And Bryant had reportedly arrived there fairly early. Witnesses later described him as drinking heavily that night, and bartenders already knew pieces of the drama surrounding his ex-girlfriend because Bryant had talked about it openly. Then Jackie Vandagriff walked in, and the pacing of this part matters because, at the time, nothing looked alarming. By most accounts, she seemed social and comfortable that night. She had reportedly gone out partly because she was interested in possibly finding work in the Denton bar scene, and Fry Street was the kind of place where conversations happened easily. So she sat near Bryant. Then they started talking. Jackie appeared engaged in the conversation. At different points, they were laughing, with Bryant touching and flirting with her. At some point during the night, Jackie made a tweet that would later become haunting once investigators recovered it. She wrote, "I'm glad I decided to get off Tinder and walk to a bar." And that tweet hit people hard afterward because it captured how ordinary the night probably felt to her at that moment. It sounded casual, playful, almost like she was joking about having better luck meeting someone in real life instead of online. Eventually, Bryant, Jackie, and a bartender left Fry Street Public House and headed to another location called Shots and Crafts. And again, witnesses there later described Jackie as appearing comfortable. There was no obvious sign of fear or distress. She interacted with people around her, and at one point, Bryant and Jackie reportedly spent time around a group of women inside the bar. This detail would become incredibly important later, because Bryant handed out his business card to some of those women, and once investigators started trying to identify the man Jackie had been seen with that night, those women became one of the earliest breakthroughs in the case. The card gave detectives a name much faster than they otherwise may have gotten one.
Charles played a very significant card here by accepting the allegation made against him and claiming that he's willing to go forward without much resistance. He was still denying to have a single memory that relates him to the murder. Psychotic blackouts do take place in many cases.
Outside, rain had started falling across Denton, so he offered to give Jackie a ride home. As the night got later, surveillance footage placed Jackie inside Bryant's vehicle near a convenience store. Cameras captured Bryant going into the store alone while Jackie remained in the car waiting for him. But that was the last confirmed sighting of Jackie Vandagriff alive. And just before sunrise on September 14th, 2016, firefighters were dispatched to Acorn Woods Park near Grapevine Lake after smoke was spotted rising from the area. At first, nobody responding to that call believed they were heading into a homicide scene. Brush fires happened, trash fires happened, and people dumped things near the lake all the time, so the expectation was that this would be quick and routine. But when first responders reached the shoreline area, the situation immediately felt wrong. The fire was concentrated in one specific spot near the water, and sitting there was a small plastic kiddie pool that had been badly melted by the flames. Then firefighters realized there was a body inside it, and the condition of the remains shocked even experienced investigators. Whoever had done this had gone far beyond trying to kill someone. They had tried to erase them. The damage from the fire was so severe that officers at the scene could not immediately determine who the victim was. There was no identification nearby, no obvious personal belongings left behind, and no quick answer waiting for detectives when they arrived that morning. As daylight slowly started coming up over Grapevine Lake, investigators began working the scene while trying to understand what exactly they were looking at. And almost immediately, one question started hanging over everything else. Who would do something like this? Because this was not normal for the area. Acorn Woods Park was not known for crimes like this. The communities around Grapevine, Haslett, Denton, and the surrounding suburbs were places where people went to school, worked regular jobs, raised families, and went out to bars on weekends. But now detectives were standing over one of the most disturbing crime scenes many of them had ever encountered. And for a while, they did not even know the victim's name. But then investigators noticed something important. One hand had been less damaged than the rest of the body, and that changed the direction of the case completely. Detectives were eventually able to recover fingerprints from that hand, and when those prints were run through the system, the victim was identified as 24-year-old Jacqueline Ray Vandagriff. Now they had a name, a timeline, and a very narrow window between Jackie being alive in Denton and her body being discovered burning near Grapevine Lake just hours later. So investigators immediately started retracing her final movements step by step, camera by camera, receipt by receipt, and almost every road they followed kept circling back to one person. Charles Bryant. Investigators started interviewing witnesses, trying to identify everyone who crossed paths with them that night. And once investigators ran that name, the case changed almost immediately, because now detectives were no longer looking at some random guy Jackie met at a bar. They were looking at a man who had already been arrested in stalking-related incidents involving another young woman only days earlier. Then, investigators contacted Officer Jeremy Polk at the University of North Texas. And according to reports surrounding the investigation, Polk was immediately alarmed. He already knew Charles Bryant's history with Caitlin Mathis, so the second he heard Bryant's name connected to Jackie's murder, his thoughts went straight to Caitlin's safety. And imagine that moment for a second, because by then, news about Jackie's murder had already started spreading publicly around North Texas. Caitlin had heard about the burned body found near Grapevine Lake, but she did not yet know detectives believed Charles Bryant was connected to it. Then Polk called her, and suddenly, the fear she had been living with for weeks no longer felt hypothetical anymore, because now another woman was dead, and police already suspected the same man Caitlin had been hiding from inside closets and reporting to officers repeatedly. At that point, investigators started stacking evidence piece by piece, and the deeper they dug, the worse the picture became. Then detectives recovered Jackie's belongings discarded in trash. But that was not all. Investigators discovered that not long before Jackie's murder, Bryant had made purchases that immediately raised concern, including a shovel bought at Walmart. So detectives obtained the surveillance footage. And now, they were not just reconstructing a night at bars anymore, they were reconstructing preparation. Investigators tracked his vehicle movements. They analyzed cell phone records. Tower pings helped map the route southbound from Denton toward the Haslett and Grapevine areas during the overnight hours after Jackie disappeared. Jackie's phone activity aligned with locations connected to Bryant, and the possibility of coincidence started disappearing. Then detectives began speaking with people who knew Bryant personally, including neighbors. And this is where the investigation started feeling truly disturbing, because according to reports connected to the case, one interaction especially stood out to investigators. A neighbor later recalled Bryant asking a disturbing question during conversation: "How do you get away with murder?" Now, investigators would later evaluate statements like that carefully, because context always matters in criminal cases. But when detectives placed that alleged comment beside everything else they were uncovering, it became difficult to ignore. So the investigation stopped being about finding a suspect. It became about proving exactly what happened between the moment Jackie got into Bryant's vehicle and the moment firefighters found that burning kiddie pool near Grapevine Lake.
And more breaking news here at home. Out of Grapevine, the Tarrant County Medical Examiner's Office has identified the body found burned and dismembered in a park near Grapevine Lake last week. The victim is 24-year-old Jackie Vandagriff. According to her Facebook page, Vandergriff lived in Denton and studied nutrition at Texas Women's University. Grapevine police have arrested a suspect as of Sunday afternoon, but they've yet to release any information about that person. Police and FBI agents were investigating a Fort Worth home into the early morning hours this morning. Of course, as we get more on this story.
By the time detectives brought Charles Bryant in for questioning on September 18th, they already knew far more than he realized. But when the interrogation started, Bryant tried to play the situation small.
To collect some evidence. When police tried to find her recent contacts, they found a girl named Sherry Bowe. After reaching out, she gave critical information that steered the detectives in the right direction in this case. She informed them that she went out with the group, and there she met Jackie on September 13th at a local bar named Fry Street Public House. When Sherry entered the bar, Jackie was already sitting with a bald man with a rather large build. Sherry also added that Jackie was talking to the man quite a bit, and the man introduced himself as Charles Bryant. Later, detectives went to that bar.
At first, he acted like Jackie was barely relevant to him at all. He tried to frame the interaction as casual and forgettable, almost like Jackie was just another person he briefly crossed paths with during a night of drinking.
And I keep hearing you say you don't know what's going on, you don't remember, you don't this, you don't that. Come on, man. We've laid it out for you, okay?
Yeah, it's there. End up in Grapevine. I remember that.
We're over there at your house, okay? We have video of you with this girl.
Showed me.
You're at the bar. Her cell phone goes to your house. You're walking around Walmart at 4 o'clock in the morning buying a shovel.
And call service.
She's found dead in a pool that came from your backyard. Okay?
Yeah.
You can't tell me you can't tell me you don't remember.
I don't know why.
Come on, man.
Well, I'm giving you
You
that.
were there.
Obviously.
You did all these things, and there is no way in the world that
I
a
can't
man
recall
could
killing
travel all the way from Hazlitt to Grapevine, from Denton to Hazlitt to Grapevine, and not remember. Stand up and man up and
Dude,
tell us what you did for this girl's family.
I'm admitting to it. I can't remember killing anyone, man.
You've got to. There's no way you remember all the big things in your life. Okay? Very few are bigger than taking another human life.
Yeah, it's pretty drastic.
I know it's in there.
And that was the strategy in the beginning. Pretend the connection between them was weak enough that investigators might not be able to place him near her after the bars closed. But detectives already knew that was not true, so the interview quickly became confrontational.
Guys, I'm the senior one, so I get all the big fun phone calls. But it's an interesting gig. I'm never bored or anything like that.
Through investigation, detectives already knew that Charles was egocentric and had a narcissistic personality. Here, Detective Jim Holland used these aspects of his behavior and mirrored them so that Charles could involuntarily open up more, which he eventually did.
Tell me what's going on today. Why are you wearing the Village People outfit?
Right. Tuesday, it's like...
They didn't have anything else for you to wear?
That's it. I was wearing my shorts and I'm like, oh, I got changed in this, but I don't mind. Yeah, it's crazy because I really don't remember meeting this girl. It's like, I met her at a public house and...
A public house?
Yeah, it's a bar in Denton.
Oh, okay.
And it's like we left there and I thought we kind of parted ways, but we were at another bar drinking and I thought that apparently she was with me. We came back to my place and I don't remember driving home with her, which is insane. But yeah, because I got a text like the following day, because like really I just found out yesterday. It's like oh, you're our lead suspect and she's dead. I'm like, that's insane. But one of my clients, she texted me.
And the more Bryant tried to act uncertain or detached, the more obvious it became that detectives were not buying it.
She's like, oh yeah, there's a body found in it's like Grapevine Lake area, and just like we were close to that area. I'm like, fucking insane. And I was like, oh, let's just train somewhere else the following day because we're supposed to train on Friday morning. But yeah, turns out it was me, and it's just nuts. Like, I don't even know this girl. It's like I don't remember her name, and it's blown my mind because it's so out of character for me. It's like I'm not an angry guy. I'm not aggressive. It's I don't know. I've been trying to think over it last night, and I just don't remember leaving with her. It's like, because all I remember is like this tiny little thing. I counted on that because I went and saw my friend Katie, and she's a bartender, and we were drinking there, and I've been there pretty much all day, just because I was going through some crap with my ex, and called a lawyer, blah 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 blah, and I just went to go drink with Katie, but I don't think I was that drunk. I remember going home. I thought I went home alone.
And as the interrogation continued, detectives began laying evidence out one piece at a time. First came the phone data. Investigators walked Bryant through the movements from Denton southward during the overnight hours after Jackie disappeared. Then came surveillance footage placing Jackie inside his vehicle near the convenience store. Then investigators started bringing up physical evidence, the pool, the shovel purchase, the trash containing Jackie's belongings, vehicle evidence, DNA evidence, and each time detectives introduced another piece of information, Bryant's responses became more strained. But instead of fully denying everything, he kept drifting back toward the same explanation. He claimed he could not remember, and that he claimed he blacked out.
We don't need to concentrate so much on cutting up bodies and lighting things on fire, all right? Because that's the part where you're in the military, right? You're in mission mode. You're in survival mode. Bad happened, now you need to suck it up and get through it, all right? And that's just SOP of your mindset. I mean, you're a guy who goes in the gym who's supposed to do 10 reps, and instead you do 12 or 15, right? You're going beyond and above, but you're one who finishes a workout. You get done with things. You got a cramp, you're thirsty, you're hungover, you're going to tough it out and get through it. And this is one of those deals where shit goes bad, and now you're mission oriented. Now I got to get past that. That's the, I call it A to G, right? Which is meeting her and things happening, and then you have this middle zone, this G, where shit goes bad, all right? And then you have this, J through Z, or whatever you want to call it. Probably don't know my alphabet good enough. Pretty good. But you've got that, which is this after action report, which is, you go nuts and now you need to get rid of things. I'm not so worried about that. I mean, that's explained by someone who freaks out. That's obviously not your nature. That's easy to deal with. What I'm concerned about is that what's the red button issue? What sends this south?
I've never wanted to kill anyone. Actually, it's like came across me like crazy. It's like I've never acted on anything like that. So.
Well, and you say something that's interesting. What's the chance that you have this chick and you're so drunk that you start picturing Caitlin's crazy? I mean, there's something called repression. Where basically you're seeing someone in someone else's body. Do you see? All right, forget about this girl who's dead. A couple nights ago, do you see Caitlin with you? Is there a chance that you?
Resemble each other.
No. Well, that doesn't make a difference physically. It's what's your mental mindset. How screwed up are you from Caitlin, man?
Sensing his unease, Detective Holland proposed a possible motive. Charles' reaction confirmed that Holland's assumption had hit its mark. It was his obsession with Caitlin that consumed him, leading him to mistake Jackie for her while he was drunk. And when he realized what he had done, he treated the young woman as though she were nothing more than a disposable object, something he could simply destroy, burn, and bury to wipe away his guilt. It was most likely that Charles had the intention to kill Caitlin, but instead killed Jackie. According to Detective Holland, he might have felt that there were certain similarities between the two. It was chilling to realize that they were able to prevent another murder. The detective finds another clue when they check Charles' internet search history. How to remove a person's heart. How much formaldehyde it takes to preserve a heart. how to make a clear resin to make an art piece. It became disturbingly clear that Jackie's heart had been removed before Charles set her body on fire. Even more chilling was the revelation that he had researched these acts long before he ever crossed paths with Jackie.
Bryant kept leaning on memory gaps and alcohol as a shield, but earlier in the investigation, before investigators went into details, he said he was sober and that he drove home himself.
Despite relentless pressure from detectives, he stood firm, clinging to his claim of not remembering anything related to the murder of Jackie.
You were at the bar with her in Denton. Y'all drove to your house. You killed her. You drove her to Grapevine. And you don't remember any of that?
I just remember waking up hungover. I don't know how I could kill someone, man. I don't. It's like, it's not me. But obviously it is me. It's like,
Out of all those things that I've told you there, how is that possible that you don't remember?
I don't think I was that drunk. I really don't.
It's
I know I
not
was
about
drinking.
being drunk, Charles. The people kill people when they're drunk because they drive down the road and they hit them, okay? They don't murder them and then take them to another place. Look at me, man. They don't. I've been doing this for 25 years, okay? I've heard a lot of blackout stories. I've seen a lot of blackout stories. This is not a blackout story. And the fact that you can't look me in the eyes,
I don't remember, man. I don't.
it's down in there.
And eventually, the pressure became more direct.
It said zip ties. And then zip tie with hair on it. In the pool, so.
I mean, obviously the pool comes back from your house.
Yeah.
Obviously, because of the blood and everything else, she's been in your vehicle. You got the bloodied up K-bar knife, in your closet.
Later in the interrogation, Charles comes up with every detail of how he met this girl and why she went to his house. In the end, he finally does admit to the crime by saying it was an accident. As lame as it may sound, according to Charles, they were having kinky sex, and during that, she was choked by a zip tie. At that point, he panicked and planned to bury her, which was why he went to Walmart in the morning to buy a shovel. During the trial, the jury clearly rejected that theory because there was no such evidence of such a sexual encounter. Instead, they were convinced that Charles was planning to murder Caitlin. During an interview, Caitlin revealed her version of
Investigators were no longer treating him like someone who merely happened to be nearby. They were treating him like the man responsible for Jackie Vandagriff's death.
It seemed like a psychological breakdown and a tragic accident unraveled into a grim irony, a meticulously crafted act by a man devoid of empathy, who was cold and calculating to the core. And once again, Detective Holland also confronted Charles about his personality and state of mind, which turned out to be not so comfortable.
Psychopath would be someone who's basically born with a scar on their brain.
Finally, on April 16, 2018, after only 3 hours of deliberation, Charles Bryant was charged with first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison for this horrific act, also adding 20 years for tampering with evidence. He was also found guilty of a Class 3 felony for having explicit content of underage individuals on his computer. It was unmistakably clear that he was evolving into something truly monstrous. These stories frequently show us that any form of emotional abuse.
And as officers searched Charles Bryant's home, the evidence did not stop with Jackie's tote bag. They also found a knife that later tested positive for Jackie's DNA. Then they found several zip ties, and some of them had strands of Jackie's hair caught inside. But one of the stranger discoveries came from the backyard. When investigators reviewed satellite imagery and examined the property more closely, they noticed 2 freshly dug holes behind the house. Around those holes was blue plastic, similar to the material later connected to the way Jackie's remains were found. And when Bryant's roommates were asked about it, they said Charles had claimed he was digging because he wanted to make a koi pond. But by that point, investigators had every reason to question that explanation.
In you that you want to stand up and you want to take
I'm taking credit for it. I don't know how it happened. I don't know why we end up in Grapevine. I don't know how I wake up and like not remember this.
Because you come to Grapevine, you go to the park.
I just thought when I go to a place that I go, oh my God, it's like, it makes no sense to me.
Why would you leave her purse in your trash can at your house?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it.
Why would you leave zip ties from your car with her hair in it at your house?
I don't know.
But see, you laugh, and this is
Because
not
it's blowing.
laughing.
It's not laughing matter. It's literally you're in my face. I have nothing to do right now. It's like,
I'm not in your face.
What is this?
I'm a few feet away. I'm trying to. Every time we start to talk, and I start to talk about emotion, and I start to try to make you understand
it's a
how
horrible
this.
thing, yeah.
Hang on a second, okay? You keep interrupting me, and that's the nervousness, okay? And I'm.
He's been saying the same thing. It's
Okay,
really, it's just.
give me one shot, okay? Every time I start to talk about emotion, and every time I start to talk about the humanity of this young lady and the humanity of you, you shut down. Your eyes go to the floor.
I'm just trying
You
to.
shrug. You say it blows my mind and all that. And this is not mind blowing. We're talking.
It's pretty mind blowing.
We're talking
pretty
about the
mind-blowing.
end of two lives. Two lives.
Yeah.
Hers and yours.
Yeah.
It's not mind blowing. What's mind blowing is that you can't remember anything from
Yeah,
that
I don't know
night.
why I'd want to. It's like.
It doesn't make sense, man.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
One of these days, you're gonna have to come to terms with this, or it will.
I'm coming to terms.
It will
It's
haunt
like,
you for
I'm
the
trying
rest
to
of your
remember.
life. It will haunt you for the rest of your life.
I'm going to the fucking store.
You do remember
No,
going
I
to the store?
don't.
You don't remember going to the store. Why would you get a shovel and cough medicine at 4 o'clock in the morning? See, if we were talking about you got arrested for DWI and you went to the store in the middle of the night and bought cough medicine and a shovel, I would think that'd be something to laugh about. But when we're sitting here telling you that you killed a young lady, I wouldn't think that would be something to laugh
It's not
about.
laughable by any means.
But you just laughed.
Not really. It's just.
Nervous laughter?
I'm not even nervous. It's just.
Well, I'm glad you're not nervous. I'm not trying to make you nervous.
Clearly, then the dynamic inside the room changed completely when Texas Ranger Jim Holland entered the picture. Holland slowed things down. He was experienced, calm, conversational, and instead of attacking Bryant's ego, he started working with it. He spoke to him almost like someone trying to understand him rather than corner him, and psychologically, that worked. Because Bryant clearly wanted to be seen a certain way, strong and intelligent.
People outfit.
Right? Tuesday, it's like.
They didn't have anything else for you to wear?
That's it. I was wearing my shorts and they're like, oh, I got changed in this, but I don't mind. Yeah, it's crazy because I really don't remember meeting this girl. It's like, I met her at a public house and.
A public house?
Yeah, it's a bar in Denton.
Oh, okay.
And it's like we left there and I thought we kind of parted ways, but we were at another bar drinking and I thought that apparently she was with me. Came back to my place and I don't remember driving home with her, which is insane. But yeah, because I got a text like the following day because like really I just found out yesterday. It's like oh, you're our lead suspect and she's dead. I'm like, that's fucking insane. But one of my clients, she texted me. She's like, oh yeah, there's a body found in it's like Grapevine Lake area, and just like we were close to that area. I'm like, that's fucking insane. And I was like, oh, let's just train somewhere else the following day because we're supposed to train on Friday morning. But yeah, turns out it was me, and it's just nuts. Like I don't even know this girl. It's like I don't remember her name, and it's just it's blown my mind because it's so out of character for me. It's like I'm not an angry guy. I'm not aggressive. It's I don't know. I've been trying to think over it last night, and I just don't remember leaving with her. It's like because all I remember is like she was this tiny little thing. I commented on that because I went and saw my friend Katie, and she's a bartender, and we were drinking there, and I've been there pretty much all day, just because I was going through some crap with my ex, and called a lawyer, blah 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 blah, and I just went to go drink with Katie, but I don't think I was that drunk. I remember going home. I thought I went home alone. but I didn't. But I'm taking it's like all evidence is on me. It's like I'm just can't remember doing it. But it's me. It's totally me. There's no doubt about it. But I just want to go forward with it. I don't know where I'm gonna go. It's, like,
Right.
it's jail. I'm fine with that. One of the detectives yesterday was saying that Texas has a death penalty. I'm like, all right, great. I'm gonna die in jail, but.
And slowly, Bryant started opening up more, but the detective still needed to figure out what really happened and why it happened.
You know,
It's pretty huge.
well, there's different degrees of it, all right? But at the end of the day, what's the difference between a good person and a bad person? Well, a bad person makes a mistake and he walks on down the road and he never says he's sorry and he never makes amends. He just goes. A good person, they make a mistake and they say that they're sorry and they make amends. Well, and they beg for forgiveness. There's what is amends in this case? Well, I think there's a lot of questions, that people have, that obviously law enforcement has, that I have, that the family's going to have, that everyone's going to have about, how does this guy like you? How does this happen? How do we get there?
I don't know how it would escalate to where I'd want to take someone's life, let alone drive from Denton to my place at Grapevine.
Well, and let me talk about psychosis a little bit, okay? Because I do primarily what I work is serial killer cases. Okay, so I deal with people that have gone off the reservation for one reason or another. Some of them just snapped, and some of them it's just this long-term, issues. Ted Bundy, it's been going on for 30 years. Well, you're not Ted Bundy. I mean, obviously you're not a serial killer or anything like that. But they asked me to get involved with this because the psychosis that is shown in the crime scene and what's going on now is very synonymous with what I do. And I can tell you this. So, is there a chance that you blacked out and that you don't remember anything? Yeah, absolutely. Right? And that's actually kind of normal, where when someone loses it, for whatever reason, bam, they snap. Right? You ever gotten really, really mad and just snapped and kind of lost it, and you're not thinking straight because, well,
I mean, it's not clear. It's so weird, man.
But that's what happens sometimes is there's a snap. And at that time, can there be this blackout stage, this psychosis, where this person basically has an out-of-body experience where they're seeing this, but it's not them doing it. And then later, basically what they do is they try to erase that memory from their mind. Is that a possibility? Yeah, absolutely, 10,000%.
Thanks to James linking sign.
And whether Bryant consciously agreed with that theory or not, the interrogation started moving toward motive. Then the investigator ordered pizza. It was a deliberate move to soften the atmosphere, make the room feel less hostile, and get Bryant comfortable enough to keep talking. And it worked, because after that, he began opening up more. And that was a smart say to help pin down the intention. I think the detective is actually doing a good job. Bryant claim now was tending towards accidental murder. She has died when they were having consensual sex. But why didn't he make any attempt to save her? Why dismember her body brutally? So, Bryant admitted to disposing of Jackie's body. He admitted to actions after her death, but he tried to frame the death itself as unintended, and investigators did not believe him, and not after the burning, and some vitals like her heart was missing.
Are you sure? Again, these are things that you would remember, and I know that you don't want to talk about these things, but
Trying to piece it together, it's like,
yeah.
the only thing I can actually see vividly in my head is like cutting off her arm. Like I can see that.
Okay, but you remember taking out the heart.
Something's missing, I think that's what I would take out.
Okay, the significance of that's going to be important to her. Why the heart?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why I asked you about, does something come into play with the ex-girlfriend in this?
Nothing at all.
Okay.
Like I don't even want to kill Caitlin. It's like I don't know why I want to kill this girl.
Do you know, tell me what you did to the heart after you took it out.
I had put it in one of the bags.
Okay, do you remember what bag?
She was one with the head of the arms.
Okay. Which one?
The head, because the arms and the legs are in one bag.
Okay, so you put the heart in the bag with the head. Yeah. Did you do anything else to the heart before you put it in that bag?
No.
You didn't do any cuts or do anything to it at all? Okay, and you sure you put it in the bag with the head?
I'm sure.
Okay, and that's going to be what, the green bag?
Yeah, it was a green bag.
Okay. And why? I mean, that's going to be a huge question. Why? Why the heart?
Why would take anything out? Is that the only thing out?
I can't give you all that, but obviously you're hitting on the right cylinders because I'm asking you what bag the heart was in and stuff like that. So.
Bag, I guess.
By the time Charles Bryant went on trial in October of 2018, more than 2 years had passed since Jackie Vandagriff left Fry Street Public House alive for the last time. So when the trial finally began in Denton County, prosecutors walked into court with a case built almost entirely on timeline reconstruction, surveillance footage, physical evidence, and Bryant's own shifting explanations. So instead of denying contact, Bryant's defense team focused on intent. They argued that whatever happened between Jackie and Bryant began as a consensual sexual encounter. Then they claimed something went wrong accidentally during that encounter, and according to their version of events, Bryant panicked afterward. The defense essentially tried separating Jackie's death from everything Bryant did afterward, because even they struggled to explain away the disposal of the body, the burning of evidence, the movement of Jackie's belongings, and the actions investigators believed showed deliberate concealment. But prosecutors pushed back hard against that narrative. Inside the courtroom, they laid out the evidence step by step and forced jurors to look at the full sequence rather than isolated pieces of it. And prosecutors kept returning to the same argument. People panic. But panic does not usually look this organized. Then the trial shifted emotionally when Caitlin Mathis entered the courtroom. By October 2018, Caitlin had already spent years living with the aftermath of Bryant's stalking behavior, and now she was being forced to sit just feet away from him while another woman's murder trial unfolded around them. She identified Bryant in court, and prosecutors wanted jurors to understand the escalation pattern surrounding him before Jackie ever died. They believed the stalking history mattered because it showed obsession, control, rejection, and emotional instability already building before September 2016. However, the courtroom became tense over how much of Caitlin's testimony jurors were actually allowed to hear. Large portions happened outside the jury's presence after arguments between prosecutors and the defense. The judge ultimately excluded parts of the testimony, limiting how deeply the prosecution could explore Bryant's previous behavior toward Caitlin in front of jurors. And when Caitlin left the courtroom crying, the emotional weight of the entire situation became impossible to ignore. Because by then, this no longer felt like two separate stories connected by coincidence. It felt like investigators had uncovered a dangerous progression that had already been escalating long before Jackie crossed paths with Charles Bryant. Then, on October 23, 2018, the case went to the jury, and the deliberation moved quickly. Just over 2 hours later, jurors returned with their verdict. Charles Bryant was found guilty of Jackie Vandagriff's murder, then guilty of tampering with evidence, and afterward, he was sentenced to life in prison. But there was one detail that continued bothering many people connected to the case. Despite receiving a life sentence, Bryant would still become eligible for parole decades later. And for Jackie's family, that meant the case never felt completely closed. After the trial ended and Charles Bryant was led out of the courtroom, the legal part of the case was technically over. But emotionally, almost nobody connected to the story walked away from it cleanly. For Caitlin Mathis, the aftermath became its own kind of burden because surviving something does not always feel like relief afterward. Sometimes it feels like guilt. Sometimes it feels like replaying timelines over and over in your head, wondering where the path split and why somebody else ended up paying the price. And Caitlin struggled with that. After Jackie's death, vigils were held in her memory, and the people who loved her tried to preserve the parts of Jackie that existed before the headlines took over. Her family created scholarships and endowments connected to her name, and donations were encouraged for organizations Jackie cared about, including Operation Kindness, because of how much she loved animals. And sometimes, in cases like this, the smallest memories end up hurting the most. Jackie's father later spoke about one of the final times he saw her, and one thing that stayed with him was regret. Regret over ordinary moments. Regret over not properly saying goodbye, because nobody expects a normal evening to become the last interaction they will ever have with someone they love. Then came one of the most emotional moments connected to the entire case. After the trial, Caitlin and Jackie's family crossed paths again after 2 years, and instead of blame or anger, Jackie's grandmother comforted Caitlin. And that moment mattered because it closed a painful emotional loop running underneath the entire story. Caitlin had spent years carrying fear, guilt, and the unbearable question of whether Jackie became caught in the middle of Bryant's obsession with her. But Jackie's family understood something important. Caitlin was not responsible for what Charles Bryant chose to do. He was. And that's where this case comes to a close. What do you think about everything that happened? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this story stayed with you, there are more cases on the channel that explore situations just as disturbing. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and share the video. It helps keep stories like this from fading away. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.